Hey guys, what's going on? Me and my wife were just talking about space and space travel and what we think about it. And it's kind of funny because she's from a Eastern European bloc country, and they were definitely on the Russia side during the Cold War and the race to space. And we were just talking about how nobody's really been into space. Americans claim they got to the moon, but I don't really believe that very much. But anyways, we were talking about this, and I found this some interesting stuff that I just wanted to make a little video and share. But there's a guy, Yuri Gagarin, and I'm saying that wrong because obviously I'm American, and he was the first person in space, quote unquote. But really, it's low orbit. He went 327 kilometers above Earth. At the time, that was pretty amazing. In '61, no one had been that high before, but they say he's the first man in space, but technically, the Van Allen belts, well, start space. When you look up what's low orbit definition of space, it's 2,000 kilometers is where low orbit ends. So he went 327 kilometers when the edge of low orbit starts at 2,000. So he's what, like 369? So he's like 1/6 of the way, maybe 1/7 of the way to low orbit distance, 2,000. So he was not the first man in space, and I don't think there's ever been a man in space. The International Space Station ranges between 370 to 460 kilometers away from the surface of the Earth. Again, low orbit, 2,000. So it's not even 1/4 at this distance. It's not even 1/4 of the distance to low orbit. Um, and then what we find really interesting that not a lot of people know about it are these radiation belts that go around the planet. They claim that when they took off for the moon landing, they went up through this space, but still that distance right there. I mean, this Yuri guy, 327 kilometers, looks like right there away from the Earth when you look at this, because this distance of this belt is 58,000 kilometers or about 36,000 miles. So if he was 327 kilometers away, 327 minus, well, it starts at 640. So he was half the way to the Van Allen belts, about, and then subtract that number from this number, you still have 57,000 kilometers, that distance. So how could any human get through that distance of radiation? I don't understand it. I tried to play a couple of videos here. Here's the video. NASA admits human can't pass through the dangerous Van Allen belts. But if I play this with my screen recorder, it won't let it play. So I downloaded the video here. It's the exact same video. I just wanted to show you that. Let's take a listen to what this guy says. This is just a NASA engineer talking about the Van Allen belts. So let's take a listen.
We are headed 3,600 miles above Earth, 15 times higher from the planet than the International Space Station. As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation.
But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation.
Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. For this flight, it's time to head home.
Okay, so that's one video here. I don't like how they cut it up so much, but you get the point of what they were trying to say. 15 times farther than the International Space Station is where the start of the Van Allen belts start. And then here's another one. NASA admits we've never went beyond low Earth orbit, and low Earth orbit is 2,000 kilometers or 1,200 miles. Again, this Yuri guy, 327 kilometers, low orbit, 2,000. And this video here, I'll just pull this up like this. Let me close that tab. And I'll pull this one up so you can see that it's the same video here. I just had to download it. It wouldn't let me record while I'm doing the screen recording. YouTube won't play. So here's this.
And what comes after the International Space Station once its mission is over? How do we ensure the presence of humans in space?
Well, that's a great question. The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SLS, which is a heavy lift rocket. It's something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go, and this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
So, I mean, he said eventually we'll be able to do that. We can't get past this 2,000 kilometer or 1,200 mile low Earth orbit. So that one's kind of interesting. I looked up that Red Bull guy and what he jumped from, and it was only 39,000 meters. I mean, only, whatever, but 38,000, 39,000 is what, you know, it's conflicting information here, but like 38, 39, let's just say 40,000. And this Yuri guy was 300. So a lot farther than what he jumped from. And my wife was saying, like, well, she thinks of space as when gravity ends, like how far this guy fell because gravity still existed, but this guy was so high up that there wasn't any gravity anymore. And even with the International Space Station being about 370 to 460 kilometers, they're acting like they're like in low, and they're acting like they're in low gravity. Maybe it's low gravity, but I looked up what distance away from the Earth loses gravity, and you would have to fly about 21 million kilometers away before the Earth's gravity no longer has hold on you. 13 million miles. That's 87 times farther away from the moon. So one distance from the moon that we can see times 87 before we actually have no gravity. Maybe low gravity is different, but just trying to paint a picture of how deep, how far Earth, and like how impossible it is to get away from this Van Allen belt. The moon is still out here beyond the Van Allen belt. Then 87 times farther is where gravity actually ends from Earth. It's mind-boggling the distances. So the last video I'm going to leave you with here is truth about the moon landing. And this little girl, she asks Buzz Aldrin this question, and this is his response.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen. So in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why.
So I think I know why. I think I know why. The Van Allen belts, you can't get past about 57,000 kilometers of radiation. So I hope that gives you guys something to think about. But if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I hope I've kind of shed some light on this. If you haven't ever looked up the Van Allen radiation belts, take a look at them. Some of the most interesting things I find about space is like, how do you get past this? And if you look up anything, like if you did a Google search for just like, how do humans get past the Van Allen belts? There's like 10,000 articles saying that it's possible. And what they say is that we went through this part right here and got out into space and into the least amount. But honestly, 57,000 kilometers this way, let's say, This way, you're still looking at 20, let's just say 10,000 kilometers. Still, the International Space Station is only 460 kilometers, not 10,000. I mean, it's a distance like it's an unfathomable distance that the belts are. So, like the guy said in the video, we're still trying to figure out how to get past these Van Allen belts, and just give you something to think about. So if you got any more anything to add to this conversation, I would love a response video or even a comment below. But yeah, give it a thought over. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm stupid. I'm willing. I'm not afraid of cognitive dissonance, and I'm not afraid to think and ask questions and to be questioned about what I think. And I'm just trying to learn, and I think learning requires an open mind. You have to be able to say that you're wrong or you misunderstood something. But if there's anything here that I'm misunderstanding, that I'm not fully comprehending, there's something that you know that I don't know, please leave it down there in the comments. I'm curious about this. We talk about this all the time, me and my wife, and we're just trying to figure out, is this the edge of the map? My question is this the edge of the map right there? Boom, where these Van Allen belts start, about 640 kilometers. Is that about as far as we're ever really going to get away from the planet? I don't know. So, yeah, leave your comments below, and let's continue this conversation in the comment box. And if you guys like this kind of content, please subscribe and like the video if you've made it this far, because obviously you're awesome and you're a thinker too. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.